Have you ever wondered if an e-bike tour is actually worth it in Banff? Maybe you've seen people riding around town and thought, that looks fun, but you're not sure if it's right for you. Or maybe you're wondering whether you should simply rent an e-bike or book a guided experience instead. Today, we're answering all of those questions. Welcome back to the Banff Travel Podcast. I'm your host, Celine Brewer, a local Canmore resident, living the mountain life all year long. Every week, I help travelers like you plan unforgettable trips to Banff, Lake Louise, Jasper, and the Canadian Rockies. My guest today is Clare, founder and owner of Bikescape in Banff. Clare started Bikescape during the COVID pandemic after local families began asking her to take their kids mountain biking. What started as a small bike company quickly grew into Banff National Park's first and only certified bicycle guide company permitted to guide on the park's trail network. Today, Bikescape offers guided e-bike tours, mountain biking experiences, cross-country skiing, fat biking, and custom outdoor adventures that help visitors experience the Canadian Rockies in a completely different way. In this episode, we talk about why e-bikes are such a fantastic way to explore Banff, what first-time riders can expect, who those tours are best suited for, and why having a local guide can completely change your experience. Welcome, Clare. I am so excited to have you on the podcast today and talk about everything biking around Banff.
So Lynn, thanks for having me. I'm stoked to be here.
So I'm going to just get right into the questions so we can share everything with the audience. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself and what led you to start Bikescape?
Yes, I started Bikescape during COVID. I was quite a lucky COVID baby, they call me. I was working very part-time at the Fairmont, the local luxury hotel here, and ended up actually getting laid off because of COVID. I already had a passion for mountain biking and was already coaching some of the local kids in the area part-time. And when COVID shook down, I had many parents and friends of parents contact me to say, hey, we can't really do anything. Can you take my kid out and his 6 friends biking for a few hours, a couple of days a week? And Bikescape kind of exploded from there. We haven't really stopped. So I started with kids and then branched out into being the first and only mountain bike guiding operation in Banff National Park. And it's been 7 years now, and we are still rolling strong.
You sure are. So, funny little story about that. And I don't know if you fully know this, but I had a friend who had a kid in one of your camps and they told me about it. And I literally stalked you until I found you. I sent you messages and I would go to Quarry Lake and I would find you and try to talk to you. Hey, can you take my kids into bike camp? And which is really funny to think about now because I'm like, I knew nothing about you. And I was like, I'm going to find her and I'm going to get her to take my kids. And, that's kind of our history as well over the past, several years.
Yeah, definitely. That's most parents around that time. I was a hot commodity.
You really were. All right. So what made you want to introduce visitors to Banff by bike?
Banff, there is no question. It can be a busy place. It sure doesn't have to be, especially if you're on a bike.
Absolutely.
It doesn't take very long to, escape the busyness with a bicycle, and you can get the best bang out of your buck for the least amount of time. So you have the time to get to all the other things on your to-do list. There are just so many things to do here. Making the most out of your time is critical. I'm grateful to have the opportunity to live and work and ride my bike in this utterly spectacular place. So why wouldn't I want to share my passion with others and make it easier to see everything you can while you're here?
Absolutely. I think it's such a great way. When we travel around, we love to do bike tours. It's one of the best ways to see as much as you can, especially if you have a limited time. So can you describe the different experiences you offer throughout the year?
Absolutely. We offer e-bike experiences throughout the summer months, so May through October. We also have our combination of experiences with forest bathing, Indigenous cultural history experiences. We can combine e-biking and hiking and e-biking and yoga. Those are exclusive for groups with a minimum of 6 people, but larger families, 6 or more, by all means, we can certainly accommodate, and those are totally customizable experiences. We also have our daily tours, which are Banff by e-bike, our Taste of the Trails, beginner experiencing mountain biking. And then we have our ultimate intermediate, which is more of a mountain bike, single track intermediate experience. Throughout the winter time, we actually offer cross-country ski experiences, and the majority of our guests have never skied before. We also offer fat tire e-bike experiences throughout the winter as well. We have this magical place in Lake Louise that is just a winter wonderland throughout consistently November to March to cross-country ski, and teaching people how to cross-country ski in this beautiful wonderland is just, it's a pretty magical experience. And you get to really take something home with you, which we definitely, we know we have a pretty awesome experience there.
Absolutely. And, so many places around the world too, people can take that experience from riding e-bikes or cross-country skiing and all that. So, we've talked a lot about your experiences, but, what makes that different from simply renting an e-bike? There's lots of places in Banff that people can just go rent their own e-bike and explore. So can you talk a little bit about what makes that different?
Absolutely. Having a local expert to guide you on those must-sees on your to-do list, rather than having to pull out your phone at every intersection, really takes all the work out of your experience. It replaces that with all of the fun. Not to mention having a professional to manage traffic, wildlife, other trail users, your safety, the weather, up-to-date conditions. There's no question that having a guide to manage all of that is pretty priceless.
For sure. And especially like even just around the town of Banff, there's so many places that people would never see or be able to experience because obviously the guides know that. So Bikescape is the first and only certified bicycle guide company permitted on the Banff National Park trails. So what does that mean for visitors? Why is that important?
We are all certified professional cycling instructors, rather than just someone leading you down through town on a bicycle. We have the ability to assess riders, give them an experience suitable to their riding ability. We have extensive training in group management with riders of all ages. We are the only operator that's actually permitted on the trail. So if you truly want an off the beaten path experience, we are the only ones that can offer that to you.
Yeah. As somebody who has been part of your tours, I can attest to the fact that the tours are pretty awesome. So take you to some pretty cool places. All right. So talking about e-bikes themselves, for someone who's never ridden an e-bike before, what should they expect?
So a typical analog, as we call it, bike ride in 2 hours might give you 10 to 15 kilometers and require a good amount of fitness. A 2-hour e-bike ride could get you, 15 to 25 kilometers, depending on how much you stop and take photos, of course. But the smile on your face is probably the key at the end of your ride. That's the biggest difference. After
Absolutely.
a 2-hour analog bike, especially, with a couple of the hills around here, you could be pretty cooked. Whereas, an e-bike, it's tough to wipe the grin off your face after
I
that
think,
experience.
yeah. So, learning how to use the e-bike, obviously you guys will do that and teach people. But I think the key for this one right here is that we live in the mountains. It's
Yeah.
not flat. I get
Yep.
people, who complain to me all the time that I've recommended a hike that was easy, and they didn't feel like it was easy. And
Yeah.
I'm usually like, well, but that's as easy as it gets
Yeah.
in the mountains, unless you're doing a flat walk. And the
Yep.
same goes for biking, right? There's going to be lots of hills. Getting to finish that bike tour and not feel like you need to go have a nap and you can
Yeah.
continue and do other things and just have a great time. So you're not struggling up the hill. You can actually look around,
Exactly.
enjoy your
Yeah.
time. So to that point, how much work do you still have to do on an e-bike?
We use pedal assist bikes, so they're still human powered. You must still pedal in order to receive the assist. Think of it like a hybrid vehicle rather than fully electric. There's still gas required in order to run the engine. uh, you you also need to shift gears in order to get the maximum efficiency for both rider and bike. So for those that think that you're not doing any work whatsoever, that is certainly not the case.
Right. So it's not like some of those bikes we see on the pathways that have a full throttle and people are not pedaling. This is
Correct.
like riding a bike and Claire running behind you, pushing your bike so it goes faster.
Yeah, exactly. Except I'm not doing that either. Thank goodness. Uh,
So, given that, what do you think surprises people the most the first time they ride an e-bike?
how fun it is, literally. I I take a survey before every experience and ask who has been on an e-bike before and really try to hone in on that first pedal experience, having that assist underneath them. If I could bottle that and sell it, that first feeling of being on a pedal assist e-bike, I'd likely be a billionaire. No question, actually. No question there. Uh,
I totally agree. Having, ridden an e-bike myself, the first time and seeing some of the people on your tours, just that, even that first little bit when they're testing the e-bike, you can just tell, like when they're first learning how to turn the power on and use the battery and stuff like that, you can just see that smile is like, oh my God, this is going to be fun.
yes. Woohoo!
So you threw in a little bit about mountain biking. Do people need any mountain biking experience for the tours?
So we have different styles of experiences. And so even for our mountain bike experiences, our Taste of the Trails is one of our most favorite introductions into mountain biking. A typical mountain bike has many features that are new to folks. So like a seat that automatically drops, full suspension, meaning it just has a lot of swish to it. It's got a heavier weight and really powerful brakes. We spend plenty of time at the start of each experience going over the features so you can fully benefit from everything the bike has to offer. Then we're going to take you on accessible terrain to ease you into riding on trails suited to your comfort level. Starting small and working your way up is the best way to introduce yourself to any new sport, really.
Yeah. And as you said, you have instructors and people who know how to assess that riding so they can make changes on where the tour goes based on the comfort level or riding ability of
And
the
how
guests.
fast we're going.
Yeah.
And absolutely, you betcha.
So if someone hasn't been on a bike in years, do you think this is still something they could enjoy? There's a lot of people who are like, oh man, I used to ride a bike as a kid, but I haven't done it since.
Yes, with our experienced instructors, we always ensure you feel comfortable. It's just like riding a bike. uh, it always tends to come back to most people. The only thing we would recommend if you are nervous is to book a private experience so that, you take the other people that might have an influence on where you're at or where you should be out of the equation.
That's, great suggestion. Even that intimidation factor for some people of having to do it in a group of people, that would allow you to still get out and enjoy it without worrying about, am I going to keep people back? Am I, are people going to be watching me? All of that kind of stuff. Even as adults, I think we still have those worries when we do group tours. So
Absolutely. Yep.
so what are some of the biggest misconceptions people have about e-bikes? I think we've kind of touched on it, but I'll let you speak to that.
Yeah, I think there are 18 different e-bike rental companies in town. And they are absolutely there to get more people on bikes and to get them out into Banff to experience everything they can. When many people come from, say, different countries or don't have a vehicle or came on a bus, they kind of think like, oh, e-bike. It's electric, so I don't actually have to know how to ride a bike. You definitely still need to know how to ride a bike. You don't, especially with our experiences, you don't get to hit a button and go. That is more of a moped, a scooter. That is not an option for an experience for us or really anywhere in town. I don't believe you can get any sort of electric bicycle or moving vehicle that can take you on the pathways, etc. To the hidden gems. Yes, you can rent a car, a moped, etc. But you would still be essentially on the road. So that's probably the biggest one. A couple others are, you don't burn any calories. It's pedal assist, so you still have to pedal. So you still need to use human power. You're just going to use less of it, and it's going to be way more fun. But for me, I typically, ride an e-bike 7 days a week, multiple times a day. So for me, I'm getting enough calories burned in the distance rather than the extent of fitness required on a regular, say, analog bike. So you are certainly burning calories, and it's still a active experience. And then for those hardcore mountain bikers or hardcore cyclists that have never ridden an e-bike, many of them feel that it's cheating to go ride an e-bike and or state that it's cheating. E-bikes have now leveled out the playing field. So grandma can take Tommy 3-year-old in a chariot out on an experience where otherwise that would be too much for the both of them in order to get out off the beaten path, essentially. So there is no such thing as cheating when you're getting more people on bikes, in my opinion, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it makes a huge difference for
Mhm.
people who maybe feel they wouldn't be able to keep up to be able to get that e-bike and still enjoy the experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, riding with a guide. I mean, I think we all know why that's important, but let's have you just share why booking that guided experience instead of just renting an e-bike and exploring on your own. What are the real benefits of that?
Not only do our instructors guide you to Banff's local gems, we truly are your local gems. We have stories galore, and we love to share them along with our local knowledge of how to make the most of your stay here. We truly enjoy what we do. We all just have a huge passion for high-end guest experiences. And again, we just want to make sure that you have the best time.
Yeah, absolutely. So what do guests consistently tell you that they loved most afterwards?
Honestly, our instructors, they're truly one of a kind. They are handpicked and, they're not just here for the summer. They have just such a passion, like I said, and they're really hard to beat. So, yes, the bikes, yes, the where we took them, etc. But I think the most obvious when people tell us about their experiences is our guides.
Yeah, a good guide really makes all the difference. We were in Italy over Easter and we did two different kind of tours. We did one kind of self-guided and one with a guide. And keeping in mind that obviously a good guide makes a huge difference. But the first tour, we kind of like meandered on our own self-guided. We're like, yeah, whatever, I don't know what that is. I don't know what I'm looking at. But then the second one we did, we were like, oh my God, this is so interesting. And she was just really good and had some great stories and we were all engaged and it really made a difference. And I think, the same can happen even here in the mountains. Like, yes, we have the mountains. Yes, you can look at that and know that that's a mountain. But a lot of times there's stories behind it, or there's stories about the animals, or there's stories that you may not get otherwise, or you may not even know what you're looking at. I don't even know, or I might miss, stopping at one stop that I didn't know was there. So those instructors and guides make a huge difference. So
Agreed.
just keeping along that same line, what are some of the memorable reactions you've seen from first-time riders?
Our experiences aren't necessarily out and back. So even if they are, I guess our guests don't necessarily realize their experience is coming to an end. One of the most common comments when we finish is like, "What? It's over already? I could keep going all day."
That's an
um,
e-bike.
exactly. That's again. Yep. Absolutely. It just adds to that experience for sure. And then, just the grins from ear to ear. They're having a hard time getting off their bike, taking their helmet off because they're just glowing with excitement. So I think those would be definitely our for first time e-bikers or first time to Banff or yeah, those would be our definitely most memorable experiences.
I think that's a good point too. Even if you have ridden an e-bike before, I think those people still tend to be as excited about it because now they're getting to explore around Banff on it. So getting that guided experience on the e-bike. So to that point, who are your tours best suited for?
Literally everyone. So we can take a infant in a chariot that's attached to an e-bike. We can take a 4-year-old if they are comfortable riding a bike on their own bike with a tool like a tow rope to tag along. And, you know, typically the youngest kid in the family or the smallest one is always hearing from their parents, "Come on, Johnny, keep pedaling. You can keep up to us." Whereas that 4-year-old that knows how to pedal, that's attached to the guide at the front of the pack, is absolutely gleaming because for the first time, they're out front. And
Yeah, right.
so that's a pretty awesome experience for them. But also, if you are still comfortable being active and mobile, we can take seniors again that are still comfortable and agile, so to speak, because we have step through bikes that are probably for folks that age. It's just the trick of getting on and off the bike. They know how to ride a bike already, but sometimes mountain bikes or road bikes, etc., are just tricky to get onto because they're meant for those, quite flexible, agile individuals. So we can certainly cater to anyone for our experiences, even within a family. If there's one person that doesn't know how to ride a bike, we don't recommend they come along with that experience. Not that we can't teach them how to ride a bike, but it takes the experience away from the rest of the folks. So if you are looking for an awesome introduction to riding a bike or to riding a mountain bike and you're not sure about it, again, back to that private session where we can certainly hone in on everything you need to make yourself successful on the trails. But otherwise, family events are pretty fun for us, for sure.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Good to know that anybody can join. And you kind of talked about the little kids. So I would assume that for the most part, those would be attached to the guides who know, what they're doing and how to have them follow behind them properly.
Correct. Yeah. Because you can't actually, as a child, you need to be 12 years old or older to legally ride an e-bike. So otherwise, attaching them to an e-bike is not illegal and is actually really fun.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's a really good distinction as well, is that 12-year-old age, just for people to know that. Because I have spoken to a lot of people who are coming and they want to do e-bikes, but they've got like a 9 and 10-year-old. And typically the e-bikes aren't even small enough for kids that small, correct?
Correct. Yeah. Most of the e-bikes in town are going to be catered to folks 5 feet or taller.
Right. Right. So, which might even be older than 12 in some cases. So
Mm-hmm.
I have a 12-year-old who is not that tall yet.
True story.
Okay, so let's just touch a little bit more on just the difference between your scenic Banff e-bike tour and the mountain bike experience, just so people truly get that difference.
Absolutely. To put it simply, the terrain and the bikes is what differentiates a Banff by e-bike experience or a Taste of the Trails experience. The Banff by e-bike experience takes place on relatively flat, paved and gravel pathways and takes place on a hybrid step-through e-bike. Our mountain bike experiences are on mountain bikes and mostly on trail on a full suspension pedal assist e-bike. And our instructors are exactly the same for both experiences.
All right. So what should guests know before booking, and what should they wear? What should they bring? Like those kinds of things. Can you talk a little bit about those details?
You bet. For the family experiences, we kind of need to sort through ages, abilities, and et cetera. So those experiences are much more custom. So by all means, if you have a family and you're looking to come, give us a call because we will make it happen and we can talk through what it looks like. You really must know how to ride a bike before joining an experience. Hoping for the best isn't going to pan out for you. Again, any questions whatsoever, we can certainly cater to 2 different groups in a certain amount of time, et cetera. So give us a call or shoot us an email and we can absolutely make something happen. What should you bring? The mandatory item to bring in the mountains, regardless of a bike experience or not, is a raincoat, a
100%.
waterproof raincoat. If you bring a raincoat, the chances of it raining are pretty slim. If you do not bring a raincoat, it will rain. That's what happens.
Every time, every time.
Every single time. Murphy's Law. We do recommend bringing some spare water, sunscreen, sunglasses, and gloves are recommended, but we also give you a pack list once your booking is confirmed. So there's no stress about needing to have everything with you prior to.
Perfect. And you obviously have helmets and all of that thing. They should wear just proper shoes for it, like either a hiking shoe or a running shoe or something like that.
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. We wouldn't recommend like a high heel stiletto or a very puffy sweater instead of a rain jacket, those types of things. We would certainly look into getting you some rental options. There are rental raincoats and flat shoes, etc. If you don't want to bring those with you, we can certainly look into getting them for you.
Good. Yeah, that's
As
good to
long as
know.
we know in advance, we can take care of that.
Absolutely. All right. So, where does an e-bike tour fit best into someone's Banff itinerary?
In our opinion, right at the start, especially if you arrived in Banff late and you just don't have your bearings, you checked into your hotel, you went for a sleep, you woke up and what to do. In our opinion, that is the best time to go hop on a bike with an instructor, a local guide that can give you the lay of the land. It's just the best way to experience all of Banff. There's many other options to go, but having the lay of the land, you can do that in a 2-hour e-bike experience in Banff, literally, and not have to say, oh, okay, well, after we do this, we'll hop in the car and do this or hop in the car and do this. Like you really don't need to if you have a bike tour to do that right at the gate.
Yeah, that's such a great idea. Even thinking about the town of Banff itself, there's so much to do in the town of Banff and around the town of Banff, and going on that, faster e-bike tour can take you by some different places that you might want to go back to later and check out
Absolutely.
later and spend more time at later, but you
Yeah.
might not even know they're there. You might not even know what the options are there. So that is such a great way to just get that immediate overview of the town and what there is to do around there, and ask questions about other things, restaurants,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
ask your guide questions. They're there. They can, tell you what their favorite place is.
We know where the best happy hours are.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay. I have to assume everybody's super excited about getting on an e-bike tour when they come to Banff. So I'm going to finish this up with some rapid fire questions for you. Ready? All right.
I am ready.
Favorite hike in the Canadian Rockies?
I do not hike. I do not have one.
You ride bikes.
Simply put, yes. I actually
You-
can't recommend a hike. I don't know anything about it. So
You will find Claire on her bike. Her and I have actually had some conversations where I'm like, I would like to take you on this hike. One of these days, I'm going to take her to Lake O'Hara hiking. We almost did it last September when I got those shuttle tickets, but we had to cancel. So that's still coming.
I
Still
will
gonna
make a
make her
special
hike.
guest appearance, but I don't have the resources. When somebody says, hey, I should go, where should I go for a hike? I
Yeah.
cannot answer that question.
She's like, just let me text Celine. I will get
Yes,
an idea for you.
exactly. Can I use my call a friend? That's what I will do.
All right. Favorite restaurant?
I have 2 favorite restaurants in town. One of them is called
Most
The
people
Block.
do.
Yeah. And the other one is called Shoku. And they are right near each other on Caribou Street. Caribou is just being renovated essentially into a beautiful pedestrian area as well. So yeah, The Block and Shoku, they're very unique. They're very quaint and just so different than everything else we have in Banff.
Awesome. What is your favorite paid activity in Banff or Canmore?
Hands down, the Minnewanka boat cruise. The Minnewanka moment is utterly spectacular, and you'll hear about it when you take the cruise. But it's a small boat. There's not many people on it. You're in the middle of the water comparatively to many other busy experiences. It is not far away from the town of Banff. You can take a bus to get there. And yeah, by far, I would say that is a really cool experience.
Yeah, I tell people that all the time. I'm like, I find it fascinating. Like, I go with my family, I take my kids. My kids find it all interesting when they bring out like the bear paw and all the interactive things. But I just think the history of like Minnewanka is so interesting that there's this entire resort under the water.
Yep.
So it's very cool. I always do recommend it as well. So if you could take a first-time visitor to just one place in the Canadian Rockies, where would you take them?
Well, it's my favorite place, so I don't like telling people about it, but it's the bridge at the old Quarry Loop. It's accessible via the Spray River Loop, just south of the Fairmont Banff Springs, essentially. I wouldn't say it's a hike, it's a walk, but we do bike there. And the bridge that has water underneath it and forest on either side and the beautiful, majestic, historic Banff Springs with the Norquay Mountain behind it. Yeah, that's definitely one of my most favorite secret spots.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So is there one common mistake that you see visitors making when they plan their trip?
Definitely not booking in advance and not calling us to chat about your trip. I'm not, an itinerary planner, but with my experience at the Fairmont Banff Springs as a concierge, I do love that Jenga of helping you fit things in to the best experience possible in the least amount of time that you have here. So, yeah, give us a call and we would absolutely love to make all of the things that you want to do work and tell you the things that might not be that exceptional.
Yep. And, I think that's a really good point about that as well, is a lot of small local operators are able to work with people and come up with solutions to make it the best experience for you, whether it's customizing or splitting up your group or doing some of those things. Instead of just booking on something like Get Your Guide or Viator with a company that you don't know. There are so many great local operators that run these tours that want to help and want people to have the best experience.
Exactly.
So that being said, where can listeners learn more about Bikescape and book a tour and follow along online?
Absolutely. We have our website, www.bikescape.ca, with all of our experiences loaded on there. We have a telephone number, a local telephone number, 403-763-2878. And you would call and reach me directly. Speaking back to that small business, there are no such recordings or agents, etc. You're speaking to your owner operator.
No AI assistant.
No. And we do have Instagram and Facebook, Bikescape Ski for Instagram, actually, and both Facebook. So yeah, you can follow along with us and all of our epic adventures.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to come on here today. I enjoyed our conversation.
You betcha. Ditto.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Banff Travel Podcast. If you'd like to learn more about Bikescape or book one of their guided experiences, visit bikescape.ca or follow them on Instagram and Facebook at Bikescape Ski. If you're planning a trip to Banff, don't forget to check out travelbanffcanada.com, where you'll find hundreds of articles, downloadable itineraries, and my Banff and Jasper travel planning hub to help you plan your trip with confidence. And before you book any tours or activities, be sure to visit my Banff discounts page. I have exclusive discount codes for a number of experiences throughout the Canadian Rockies, and it's always worth checking before you book. If you enjoyed today's episode, I'd really appreciate if you'd follow the Banff Travel Podcast and leave a review. It helps more travelers discover the show and supports everything we do here. Until next time, happy trip planning, and I'll see you out on the trails.